Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah and we are a minimalist family who is living big with less. And today I am going to be answering some of your most asked questions. So these are things that come up time and time again in our comments section down below or across our social media platforms. And so my frame of thought was that if one person's thinking it, or two or three, that there's probably more of you that have wondered. So if you guys have questions, I have answers. Let's get started. Alrighty, for those of you who have been following me for quite a long time, you'll probably know the answer to some of these, but it's much easier for me to go into a little bit more detail here on video than down in those comments below. But I would really like to make this a two-way street. I want to invite you into my home and I also want to get to know you guys. So if you could leave me a comment down below at the end of this video to let me know something about you, whether it's who you are, what your family looks like, what your pet hates or are, or where you're watching from, let me know down below. All right, so some of you have just joined recently, and of course there are things that I touch on in my videos that I don't give a lot of context to, because otherwise I would be sitting here telling you my life story every single video. So hopefully this will act as a little compilation for some of those questions I get all the time. And by far, one of the most common is about my illness. So what is it? How did I get it? Those sorts of things. So let me answer. I have been diagnosed with two different chronic health conditions. One is called sphincter of Oddi dysfunction. You can Google it. It's called SODS for short. And basically it occurred after I had gallbladder operation. I had my gallbladder removed, and then ever since then things haven't quite been working right, and it affects the bile ducts that connect your pancreas and your liver to your stomach. As a result of that, my body cannot process animal fat, and so I eat a strictly plant-based diet. If you would like to learn more about my plant-based journey, I will link a video up here, but that is why we eat plant-based. And the other condition I have is come out of having sphincter of Oddi dysfunction for so long, and that is, it's called autoimmune pancreatitis. So it's an autoimmune disease. They're not really sure if it occurred on its own or because of the amount of pancreatitis I've had due to the sphincter of Oddi dysfunction. But regardless, it's here, and it appears it's here to stay for now. Unfortunately, with both of these conditions, it really comes down to just good management. So there is no cure. I live with a level of pain that is there all the time, and then it sort of flares up and goes away sometimes. Sometimes I get back-to-back infections, which is what happened to me last year and why I had to take a break. For about 6 months, I could not eat any solid food pretty much. I was on a almost exclusive liquid diet, and that just messes with your head. Thankfully, my body has started to let me introduce that again, so I'm feeling much better. But if you are out there living with a chronic health condition, I know you guys already understand, but sometimes it's nice to have someone sitting in front of a camera that understands where you're coming from, what it's like to have bad days, what it's like to not know what the future holds. And I am right there with you. So I hope that that has answered some of your questions. You can feel free to Google those things if you have further questions about what they are. It's quite a complex disorder, and I don't want to bore you with all the ins and outs of it. So that's the two illnesses that I have been diagnosed with. Okay. This next question I think is so funny because I live in Australia. It never even occurred to me that people would think this, but another question we get all the time is, why do we have bars on our screen doors, like on our windows and our front door? And this is really normal where we live here in Australia. Most homes have some sort of security screens. We don't live in a bad area. We've never been broken into. Here in Australia, it is so hot so much of the year that you love to leave your windows and doors open. So at night, when you leave the house, you don't want to close everything up, otherwise you come back to a sauna. So most homes have security screens so that you can leave your windows and doors open all the time and not have anyone come into your house or be able to get in, but you can still leave your windows open. So if you've wondered, I don't live in a bad area, nothing bad's ever happened. It's just, we don't want the snakes coming in, or the bugs, or the redbacks. We live with like some of the craziest creatures in the world down here. Okay, the third question I get, which I totally get because I don't show all of my kids in every video, but is about our blended family. So for the purpose of our family, I think of everyone the same. They're all my son or my daughter or brothers and sisters, so I don't refer to them any differently. But my husband had 2 children from his first marriage. They're our eldest 2 children, Seth and Ruby, and then we have 3 children together. They are Siri, Winnie, and Hamish. So we have a boy at each end and 3 girls in the middle, and that's why sometimes you'll hear me referring to just having the little ones with me or having everyone. So that's just how it is. I know a lot of you who have told me down in the comments, you guys have blended families as well. So just in case you're ever wondering who's here or who's not here or why things are the way they are, that is why we are a lovely blended family. Number 4 is, do we rent this home or do we own it? At the moment we are renting. We sold our home a few years ago and we have just not been in a position where we are living in the location we want to own in. So for example, where we live now, although it's a lovely area and it's a beautiful place, it's really not equipped to have any sort of land, which is what we would like to have in the future. So at the moment we are just renting, and we have all of our funds from our home locked away in investment so that when the day comes when we're a little bit more flexible in where we can live, we will go out and hopefully purchase our dream home or build our dream home. But at the moment, this is just what's working for us. Number 5 is, how do I define minimalism? Or when does minimalism start? When can you say you're a minimalist? I actually think that this term is so broad and has a way more to do with your frame of mind you're in than the actual number of items you have in your home. We all have different lives. At the moment, we've got people working from home, we've got kids homeschooling across the world, there's a whole lot happening. So the amount of things that we have in our home is going to ebb and flow as we go through different seasons of life. And so I think of minimalism as that point where you decide you're going to be really intentional about what you have in your home, that you're going to commit to bringing less items in, that you're going to get rid of those peripheral items, those items that are not serving you, that you don't love or use regularly, and just have those things that you love and use. And that doesn't mean you have to be as minimal as me. It might mean that you're more minimal than me, but whatever that looks like for you is absolutely perfect. If you have a Star Wars collectibles collection and you love it and it brings you joy, you keep that. If you have 1,000 books but you are constantly reading and using them, absolutely keep it. I think you can still be a minimalist even if you have wonderful collections of things, as long as those things are intentionally acquired and that you're loving them and using them, then you're still a minimalist in my book. Number 5 is about our cat, Minnie. I get questions because she often works her way into my videos. I was just saying she wasn't here now, but she actually came to us. I say she was sent from heaven because her and her little brother, at just weeks old, we actually found them in our front garden bed right at the beginning of lockdown when all of the pandemic started. My kids were really struggling at home. They'd shut down all of our playgrounds. There was still a lot of fear and anxiety and unknowns at that time. And so the kittens were just the most beautiful distraction. We actually fostered both kittens for quite some time because everything was closed down. So we just took care of them from the Animal Welfare League. And then once they were old enough to be like vaccinated and desexed, we took them in. They did everything. We just, being in a rental, we decided we could really only have one cat, and so we made sure that the second cat, Mickey, was adopted, and he was very quickly. But Minnie is who we decided to keep, and she is an absolute joy. We all adore her. She is a lap cat, which if I'm gonna have a cat, I want a cat that wants to be with me, and she is exactly that. So if you've got questions about Minnie, let me know down below, but we absolutely love it. So number 6 is not really a question, but I thought I would just get together some of like the common sort of themes I see, which is, where do we live? So we live on the Gold Coast in Australia, which is Queensland, which is sort of up the top end of our country. It's also why my accent is so strong. If you've heard other Aussies, they might not sound as ochre as I do, but if you're a Queenslander, your accent is usually way stronger. If you hear my husband Caleb talking, he doesn't sound anywhere near as Aussie as I do, in my opinion. But for those of you who like it, thank you, I appreciate it. And for those of you who don't, I'm sorry. This is the way I talk and there's not much I can do about it. So the last question I get is really about how minimalism flows into simple living. And so for us, a huge part of that is living debt-free. So about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, we became 100% debt-free. And we went on a scorched earth budget. We saved, we did not go out. We were living like super lean. Thankfully, our kids were still little, which made it much easier back then. But we budgeted our hearts out and we saved a ton of money, and then we sold our home, of which we made an amazing profit. We just sold at the right time. We'd put a lot of money and time into our home, which really helped. And since then, we've been really intentional about firstly investing all of the profits we made, staying debt free, making really intentional purchases, and also adding to our savings and investing. So we are, like I said, completely debt free. We have a fully funded emergency fund, and then we have our savings and investments on top of that. And I just think that when you talk about simple living, the freedom that comes from financial freedom, and the fact that that ties in so well with minimalism, that you're already being really intentional about what you're bringing into your home, that as that flows on into the other areas of your life, and just enjoying the abundance of things that's around us that cost you nothing. Beautiful sunsets, conversations with your kids, beautiful music, amazing content that's available here on YouTube for free. So guys, please, please, please leave me a comment down below telling me a little bit about you. I have an amazing memory, and so I know so many of you, I feel like so well just from our comments and social media interactions, but I absolutely love to hear from you. It really helps to build a picture in my mind of the community that's out there, and I'm not just talking to a camera in my living room, I'm really talking to you guys heart to heart. If you are new, like I said, please hit that subscribe button. We want you to be part of our YouTube family and this wonderful community that you guys have helped to create. Here are some other videos I think you might like, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.